Alright folks, today I am here once again to bring you my thoughts on the finale of The Walking Dead Dead City Season 2, If History Were a Conflagration. Oh man guys, where do I even begin? What a disappointing nothing finale, and honestly, by extension, season now that everything's said and done. I just want to preface this review by saying I am not happy with this installment and did not have a good time watching it. So although I usually try to find the good in the bad, there's gonna be very little praise coming from me in this review. Now, I do have a couple positives to get out right off the bat. I like the visual of the New Babylon forces marching through the streets, and I'm very happy they didn't kill off the Croat. That's basically it. I'm probably going to be brief with this review as I've got other videos to work on, but I seriously feel a little taken aback with how disappointing this finale was. It felt like the writers phoned it in this episode, and it seems like most of the budget ran out by this point, as I could have sworn half of the establishing shots of the city were reused from Season 1. Now, I have to be honest here. The whole Herschel and Dama subplot was just so poorly executed all season. I really believe some big twist was coming with Herschel, sort of like how we learned Maggie was trading Negan in the last season's finale. Mostly because I couldn't see them taking the surface level uninspired approach of just making him bad because he's angry. But here we are. Not to mention, we never actually got the reveal of what the Dama had Herschel do to sabotage New Babylon at the bricks, which will drive me crazy for the next couple years. The whole throwing a walker into the fire to fake her death thing is so utterly ridiculous considering the position she was left in. But that's what I figured happened last episode, which just reaffirms what I thought was a stupid and contrived fake-out death. The Dama essentially just wants Herschel to fill Negan's role in her plans. And Herschel's so totally down because screw the world, am I right? I know I'm being a bit sarcastic here, but that's really how it comes off to me. If the goal was to eventually aim for a comic-accurate Herschel Jr., well, this ain't it either. Sure, comic Herschel is a total brat, but he's not whatever this is supposed to be. Anyway, the whole point of this trap was because the Dama and Herschel want Maggie to kill Negan. For the Dama, it's about taking out the threat she created, while for Herschel, it's about ending it once and for all so they can just live in peace. Which really doesn't help Herschel's case in my opinion, as now it seems like he lured his mom into a trap just to finish what he couldn't, or claimed to not care about in episode 3. But regardless, Maggie heads out to do the deed while Bruegel and his men prepare to confront Negan, where we get a small clash between Bruegel and Pearlie over Ginny's involvement in the plan. I always thought Pearlie had a really strong start for his character, and although he kind of fizzled out towards the end of Season 1, I thought he held the potential to become one of the greats if he was written properly next season. But he was kind of just there through every episode and never really stood out. He did have a role in getting everyone killed in episode 2, but besides being a support for Maggie, he really didn't have that much to do this season. I'm supposed to be worried for him when he's under the threat of getting Lucilled, but with such little impact to the overall story in comparison to some of the other characters introduced, I can't help but think not much would change if he was killed off. But I am getting ahead of myself here. We see Bruegel and his men along with a disguised Pearlie arrive at the church under the guise of offering Negan a peace offering, which almost immediately devolves into a fight where Negan somehow had a bunch of walkers silently waiting to attack underneath a table. What are we doing here? Listen to how loud the walkers are in the scene after they're revealed and tell me that wasn't ridiculous. I seriously don't know how this sequence got the green light. Anyway, the Barrazi basically burn all of Bruegel's men alive except for Bruegel, who is now on a mission to kill Ginny as a way to get back at Negan, which Pearlie attempts to stop, only for the two to be cornered by the Barrazi in the dungeon. Here, Negan demands the two get on their knees and once again performs the whole eeny meeny miny mo gimmick as Maggie watches from behind a corner. And although the writers tried to make us think Pearlie was gonna die here, Negan predictably kills Bruegel instead. I guess it was done in sort of a cool way with the whole burning him from the inside thing, but once again, yet another interesting and unique character bites the dust a handful of episodes after their introduction. I mean, yeah, I get it probably had to happen to wrap up this methane story this season, but as the ending tells us, elements of the methane story seem to be continuing into season 3, so I don't know, rip Bruegel I guess. You were really fun to watch. I just find it strange, Pearly is one of the longest running New Era spin-off characters, yet very little has been done to make him stand out since his introduction, so I hope he's given something a little more exciting to do in season 3. But as Pearly runs for his life while Negan hunts him down, the New Babylon Marshal faces down Lucille, just as Maggie comes up behind Negan and stabs him in the back. For a brief moment, I actually naively thought this might be the end for Negan, and admittedly, it was probably the most excited I felt all episode. But of course, right before Maggie Lucille's him, Ginny's reanimated hands begin reaching through the bars as she died from her injury despite Negan spending a whole episode looting a hospital to save her. I don't even really know what to say about this character. The only thing I was sort of excited to see with her was Negan admit he only told her he killed her dad to get her off the island. But that never happened and now can't happen. So did I just completely misread that scene? Did he actually kill her dad? I don't know anymore, and honestly I don't really care. It seems like her character's purpose this season was solely to make Maggie sympathize with Negan enough to not kill him, which just doesn't work for me at all. But wrapping up this disappointing finale, Pearly, for some reason, carries Negan to safety and removes the knife from his back despite nearly getting his head caved in, just as the second wave of New Babylon soldiers who made it across the river as a result of their distraction arrive and march down the Manhattan streets, which essentially signals the loss of the war. But before the three can figure out where to go next, Maggie makes it a point to visit Herschel with the Dama one last time, where he basically goes full-on villain mode because she didn't kill Negan. And although Maggie vows to stay in the city to support him when he's ready, Herschel just doesn't give a shit and storms off with the prospect of working with the Dama to build his vision of the city. And as the episode comes to a close, we get this voiceover by Negan and Maggie which is meant to sound profound, but kind of just comes off as Gimple speak to me. I understand it ties into the boathouse leader's riddle, but it felt like the writers knew they were leaving this season off at a point that didn't exactly feel like an end, and threw it in to make it feel a little less abrupt, but what do I know? I'm still just a bit shocked at how disappointed I am with this finale, and I feel like there isn't a ton left hanging to be excited for. You know, aside from maybe the prospect of Manhattan becoming a beacon of the new world. But along with that comes more of Herschel's misguided anger, which I am already over. As mentioned, I think the visual of New Babylon's forces marching is awesome, but we've barely seen any of the actual communities associated with New Babylon outside the bricks and a motel, which honestly is a complete failure in world building. The mental gymnastics you have to do to justify why Maggie's even there in the first place is insane, considering the Commonwealth, Alexandria, and Civic Republic are all like one state over. As you can probably tell, I'm just kind of over talking about this season. I've discussed my issues quite extensively over the last 8 episodes, so I don't think I really have much more to say that wouldn't be a retread of what's already been discussed. Negan is a character the writers just can't seem to do anything new with. And they won't even do him the favor of killing him off either, which is just perpetuating this cycle of him reforming and falling back into villainy. As for Maggie, I just kind of felt bad for her all season, as all she wanted to do was protect her son. But he hates her now because he can't understand she might be able to move on without killing Negan after all. And the Dama was simply a character who craved power. And that's pretty much it. She was sort of interesting in the first half of the season, but after her return, I just can't really take her seriously as her plans make zero sense. I mean, I get Herschel can draw up plans and has a creative mind, but she doesn't really have the manpower to even make his vision a reality anymore. Bruegel was probably one of the more unique personalities to come out of this new era of spin-offs, but as tradition, you can't keep anyone around too long who actually warrants screen time, so he had to go. To be completely real, I just don't understand what these spin-offs are going for anymore. At first it was marketed as the beginning of a whole new era, like the first 11 years of the show were simply a jumping off point, but they just can't maintain the quality of writing required to make their ending satisfying. This has happened 3 times in a row now. A spin-off season starts out with tons of promise and intrigue, only to fizzle out throughout the middle episodes before completely rushing their endings. Of course, this is just my opinion, but I feel like a Fear watcher all over again. Every year we got super interesting trailers that showed a return to form, only to witness a whole lot of nothing throughout its run. I know I keep saying this in my reviews, but I really wanted to love this season. The return of power and war for methane concepts had me hooked at first, but the more we saw of what they were going for, the less I cared as each episode went on. I'm just really frustrated, guys. I was such an advocate of this season, but it just left me so disappointed. I'm trying to get myself excited for Daryl Dixon Season 3 now, but after the rush job that was Season 2, I can't help but feel there's no real aim for these shows. I don't know, I've been yapping about this for too long now. If I were to rate this episode, I'd probably give it a 2 out of 10, if that. I'll probably never revisit it outside of upcoming video ideas, and my excitement for the future of the franchise is basically at an all-time low. I'm sorry to leave this journey of reviewing every episode off on such a sour note, but these were truly my feelings. This was a very bland send-off to a middle-of-the-road season, although I really hope you guys were able to enjoy it more than I was, and if you did, I want to hear all about it in the comments down below. But that is gonna do it for me today, folks. As always, thank you so much for watching.